Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Laura Gardner, and this is my older adult oral video presentation. Just a little bit of background. I am a case manager at a mental health facility, and I got the opportunity to interview one of my clients. She's about in her 70s now, and she was kind of skeptical at first about me interviewing her, just because getting different things out. It was kind of difficult for her to explain some of the things that had occurred in her life. But when she felt comfortable, she was more than willing to share. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you. First, I'm going to talk about the developmental stage from Erikson. The stage that I picked was stage 6, intimacy versus isolation, which is in young adulthood. During this stage, individuals are looking to bond with others and form close and intimate relationships. This is from the Rogers text. Individuals also learn how to work well with their partner without losing their own identity. If the person is unable to establish intimacy, the person has the change of becoming isolated once they have moved into adulthood. This also from Rogers 2013. This kind of explains my client as we'll go ahead. She kind of did isolate herself later on in life. At this stage, Elizabeth had a relationship that did not work in her favor. A child resulting from this relationship, and Elizabeth suffered from schizoaffective disorder, and at this time there was not much medication that was effective for her symptoms. Her family was also unaware of how to work with her illness. Having schizoaffective disorder has some effect on this relationship because the person has not only schizophrenia but also bipolar disorder in Elizabeth's case. After having a baby that ended up having autism, Elizabeth could not handle the baby alone and made the decision to give him up for adoption. Not far after she gave her son up for adoption, she did go into a state hospital due to her mental health state and not being able to handle her emotions with this decision. Schizophrenia distorts how a person thinks, acts, and perceives emotions in reality. And then adding bipolar disorder, which is a cycling of mood changes such as high manias and low depression. And Elizabeth had a supportive family, but not a supportive father of her child. Her family was there for her in the sense of raising her, meeting her basic needs, but with her mental illness, they were not able to fully support her, and the resources weren't there back when she was first going through this. Once the adoption was complete, as I said earlier, she did end up at a state psychiatric facility for a few years until she managed all of her symptoms, had the correct medication regimen, and was able to come back into her normal life. She did then eventually attend nursing school for a little while. She got a couple classes completed. She did very well in school growing up and in her nursing classes. Difficulties and accomplishments for Elizabeth include suffering from a mental illness at a young age with not much money or resources to get her proper treatment. Many family members having depression and not being able to care for her properly. Elizabeth knew the right decision for her well-being of her child was to be adopted. The child was adopted to a family that had other children with autism, and he eventually went on to a group home that was better suited for him and his siblings that he ended up having. And Elizabeth was able to graduate high school and attend nursing classes to take care of herself financially. Over the years, she was able to maintain a variety of jobs to support herself and maintain contact with her son, who was in a group home not too far away. And when she was driving herself, she was able to visit him, and he did come home with her family for certain holidays and certain times of the year. I also wanted to go ahead and add in stage 8, integrity versus despair in old age. I added this to my presentation because it really represented how far Elizabeth has come with her mental illness and her self-identity. Growing up, she did not have the highest of self-esteem, didn't have many strong relationships with friends, significant others. It was hard for her to really relate to other people due to her mental illness because many kids her age weren't dealing with what she was dealing with and feeling. This stage makes it possible for the older adult to really look back on past experiences and examine what she has accomplished. They have a sense of well-being and are satisfied with how their lives have turned out. This came from Rogers Text 2013. And many others are not satisfied with their outcomes, and they mourn the loss of the opportunities. Luckily for Elizabeth, this was not the case. She did have a lot to look back on and a lot to be grateful for over her lifetime. She did make the decision of giving her son up for adoption, which I'm sure wasn't easy for her. But in the end, it worked out well. Her son is still thriving, still with his sister, his adopted sister, and still is in contact with Elizabeth. At least they talk, she said, about every other day, so which is great. And she's really been able to look back on her life and was excited about the accomplishments she made in work. She had numerous jobs for lots of years, maintained a home, a car, had relationships with many other people, and now she is working with a caseworker, which is myself, and has had other ones in the past. She does a lot of her work on her own. She does her paperwork for benefits. She attends appointments with her psychiatrist and her primary care doctor all on her own, which she has come, from what she tells me, a far, far way of being able to complete these things on her own. And then I do want to talk about a little bit of limitations within this theory. Due to many differences with development, these stages may not work for everyone. Placing individuals in stages based on their age does not always work as planned. This can occur because of milestones that they reach at different levels. Also with maturing and how fast they do things at each stage. And this theory also makes it difficult to test and measure what is being studied. This being said, with people in various age groups maybe being in one stage or another, this could be difficult for someone to test. And as time goes on, there are many changes within society and developmental processes which should occur at these stages. Society is always changing and will probably always be changing. I guess one example I can think of off the top of my head is such as cell phones. Even back when I was in middle school at different ages, we didn't have cell phones. Well, we did, but normally parents didn't give them to the kids now, and now it seems like every young child has a cell phone. I mean, it is for safety, which is beneficial, but testing these things with different age groups is difficult when so many things are changing over time. And this theory also does lack relevance of certain ethnic and minority groups. It does not take account for developmental changes within different groups, and the group that I referred to from the Rogers text was the LGBT group. This has come more prominent nowadays with many more people being open to their sexuality, and this has changed a lot, so it will make some limitations for theories that have been developed in the past. For psychosocial crisis resolution, in high school, Elizabeth did not have high self-esteem. It was difficult for her to build relationships with others due to her emotions and what she was struggling with. Because she did not have a strong sense of personal identity and did have low self-esteem, this could be why the relationship with the father of her child did not work out. With that being said, Elizabeth did jump into this relationship, and with not having the good self of identity, the relationship did fail. Contributing to this was the stressor of having a baby, and neither one being prepared. Well, Elizabeth kept the baby until it was given up for adoption, but the father just kind of couldn't handle it and just jumped out of the relationship. Therefore, Elizabeth became lonely and could not handle her child at a young age. This was due to the child being autistic and having ADHD. Back then, she said that there was not a lot of information and resources on these issues, and she struggled a lot with the hyperactivity and not knowing how to control her son, not having the patience to raise her son, and that's when she felt that it was best for her son to go with a family that had other children with these issues, so he could be a part of that family and work with the mother and have the proper care that Elizabeth just couldn't give her son at this time. For her own well-being, she did decide to give the child up for adoption. And she said that a big part of this decision was based because of her schizoaffective disorder, that when she was going through her manias and her low depression, she was not able to work with her son and give him the not necessarily the care, but the needs of working with a child with autism and ADHD. She could give the child basic needs. She was capable of doing that, but the child with the special needs is what really threw her off and really made her decision to give the child up. This is a good place for me to stop, so I will upload this, and this will be part 1 of my presentation. Thank you.